Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Bedpost Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Erin Pym. The Bedpost Podcast, right away, this is right away, I don't know what I'm saying. I want to tell you what the Bedpost Podcast is. It is generally a show where I welcome guests and performers from the stage show that I run here in Toronto, which is like a sex and sexuality variety show. I usually get guests and performers and presenters from that show into the studio so I can kind of pick their brains and indulge them in a more in-depth conversation about sex and sexuality. Today, I have a super special guest who has not yet done the stage show, but very much has been a part of the sex education community, the poly community. Let's just get right down to the brass tacks. She is the creator of the Playground Sexuality Conference here in Toronto and a former sex educator, as I mentioned, Samantha Fraser.
Hello.
Hello, lady.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I am. I'm super.
And that makes me feel a little nervous, like no pressure, right?
No pressure, Sam. But I've been wanting to do a podcast, an episode dedicated to non-monogamy, polyamory, openness for a while.
Yeah.
And
I'm surprised that you wouldn't have been that you haven't done it yet.
Me
considering the
too.
people that you would know in your community.
Totally. And
Yeah.
it definitely comes up a lot just in general, like in the podcast, but I don't generally do a lot of episodes that are topic based.
Okay.
But this is a topic worth doing a topic based episode on. For sure.
There's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah.
Even when we were saying oh yes, and let's kind of just jam out some talking points. I'm like, do we even need to? I don't even think we need to.
There will be another thing. You're you might have half a second of dead air, and then you're like, wait.
Oh wait, this other
remember
10
this.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because you have written, I want to say you have written the book on polyamory.
Oh, I don't know.
You have written a really great book.
Thank you. I
on
hadn't realized that
polyamory.
you read it until you mentioned it the other day. So I was like, oh.
I'm a good host. A well-researched
To be
podcast
honest,
host.
I actually get a little bit embarrassed that people have read it.
Why is that?
Because I have a confession. So I finished the book in 2013. 2013 is actually a really long time ago when you think about it in terms of where we are, the things that we talk about, the things that we know not to say, political correctness, social justice, all of that stuff. So when I look at the book now, I'm like, oh, this is
a little dated.
Yeah, it's super. I tried not to, but it's still to me super reading from a cis hetero lens. Yeah. And I make a note of that. And so anytime anyone has bought my book more recently, which they can't anymore because I've actually that's it. I have no more.
Yeah. They're gone.
And I always include a little note that's like, dear reader, I'm sorry that maybe I was a shit.
Dear reader, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Basically.
That's a great place to start.
But so I mean, the thing that I've always liked about my book is that it's really conversational because I've always found that everything that I've ever read about non-monogamy and polyamory is just super heavy-handed.
Clinical,
not personal. And I read The Ethical Slut when I first opened up in 2006.
I've also read that, yeah.
And I was like, wow, this sounds super great and idealistic.
Yeah.
And what happens when things actually go to hell?
Yes, thank you.
There's nothing in here.
How do I practice this in a tactile way? Great, all these concepts are fantastic.
And
but
sound fun.
What do I do with that? How do I
how do I live a regular life with it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You need a more kind of down to earth, as you were saying, conversational, relatable.
And a conversation about the stuff that is terrible.
Yes. Okay. One of my favorite, okay. There are a lot of topics that polyamory and non-monogamy books and podcast episodes and radio interviews and whatnot. There are a lot of topics that are covered on a super regular basis. Yeah. Jealousy is one of them, which we'll get to.
Yep. Because we have to.
Because that is the question.
Yeah,
That's
it
the
is
question.
the question.
But the my favorite part of your book is that you actually talk about the common pitfalls.
Yeah.
And I think that is so helpful.
Thank you.
And I get why people, want to go at it, I guess, in a positive way and tell you the do's rather than the don'ts. But
Yeah.
I need
I'm
to
so
know
much
the
more
don'ts.
focused on the don'ts.
I need
because
to
the do's
know.
are obvious. Like, I get to like have sex with other people and like
Yeah.
have multiple relationships. That's a do.
The doy.
But the don'ts are really, really important as well.
Yeah. So let's start there.
Okay.
How about?
Okay.
What are some of the common things that happen? Common bad things that can happen.
I'll give you my most common piece of advice
Great.
that I give to people, and
Great.
this is for free. So usually I make
First
people.
one's for free.
Yeah. So the thing that I discovered, and it took me a couple of years to discover this,
Yes.
is that equality does not have to mean the same thing for both people or for however many people are involved. Whether you're solo poly or you're in a couple or a triad or whatever, you don't have to get the same thing to be satisfied. And I think that a lot of people, especially people who are in couples first, who choose to be non-monogamous, fall into that trap of, oh, well, you have a boyfriend, so I must also have a boyfriend, or I must also have a girlfriend, or I must do this. Oh, you're having a one-night stand. I should also do a one-night stand. And they don't actually stop to ask themselves, do I actually want that?
Yeah.
Or am
what
I just
do I want out of this?
am I doing it because I think that I'm feeling like a sort of an envy or left out or something along those
Or
lines?
we have to tally up.
Yeah. And
you
I
know.
think that I'd like to think that nowadays people are getting a little bit more in tune with talking about what we want. Compared to 5 years ago, there's a difference. Compared to 10 years ago, oh my God, there's a drastic difference. But it is still a problem that people kind of echo and copy what the other person is doing.
For sure. Yeah. And I mean, that manifests in a lot of different
Yeah.
ways. Like, one partner may feel like they want to engage in more amorous relationships,
Yeah.
kind of more romantic,
Yeah.
emotionally intimate.
Exactly.
And another person may feel like
More sexual.
a more sexual type of relationship, or like maybe into more like a one night stand kind of excitement thing,
Yeah.
where another person, as you said, like maybe more interested in a longtime girlfriend, like,
Yeah.
and that is fantastic. That is
Yeah.
what is so great about non-monogamy and polyamory, is that you can cater it to be
To
exactly
what you want. And it's
what we
totally
want it to
fine,
be,
of
yeah.
course, to try and go along. But I think there's that expectation that people put on themselves that, okay, I'm trying it, but because you like it, I should like it.
Yeah.
And so I like to just give people the permission to be like, you know what, it's okay. If
find
you
your
don't-
own way, interpret it. Yeah. Like there's no, just like in regular two people relationships,
Yeah.
there's no one way to do it.
Exactly.
And you don't need to fit a mold.
Yeah.
And not only from what kind of what the public consciousness view of it is, but also between you and your partner.
Yeah. Or
What
partners.
your partner or
Yeah.
partners think.
And on the flip side, the partners have to make sure that they look at the other people and don't sort of put their values onto them as well.
Yeah, this
Like
is funny. I just had this conversation with like a part of my poly family yesterday.
Yeah?
Yeah, as in like, yeah, the way that you need to see the person and adapt. Like just because, so say, okay, I am an amorous person.
Yep.
Right. But okay, all the people that I'm seeing, like all the other partners, are they necessarily amorous people as
Right.
well? Or I'm just trying to make all these people fit in this mold of like what I think
Yeah.
polyamory is about, or what my poly is about.
Yeah.
Like without really looking into what all these other people think their polyamory is
Yeah.
about, like just kind of slotting them into
Yeah.
what you think,
Yeah. And
Which-
we're so used to that though, like with monogamy. Monogamy really only has one main way of being that we see reflected all the time. There's lots of different ways to be monogamous.
Yeah.
But the variations in monogamy are a lot less than poly. And
Yeah,
so
it's
people
really open.
are so used to seeing that because that is the relationship model that we see everywhere.
Yeah.
So you want to fit into something because we're used to being fit into something.
Yeah. Just tell me what to do.
yeah.
That's what's
Exactly.
comfortable, right?
Exactly.
Give me like a format.
Don't make me figure this out on my own. What are
Yeah.
you talking about?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's funny. That's a lot of, I always tell people, I'm like, I'm not an authority on this for sure. Like I do my thing and
Which is funny because I always tell people that too.
I am. No,
I tell people that I'm not.
I'm not.
Like,
yeah.
I've written a book, and I used to write. I had a blog for years and years where I talked about this stuff, but it was still just talking about my life.
Yeah, I only know what I know.
I know what I know, and if you can apply it to your life, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
But you're still on your own.
Yeah, and totally that's a thing. Like when I sit down for a lunch, I was telling you just pre-recording, like a friend is usually like, "Can I have lunch with you?" That's like them picking my brain about polyamory. Usually, right?
Yeah.
Which I'm fine with. But for good friends of mine, others gotta pay, bitch. Fuck you, pay me. But that is the main piece. That is a great place to start, to be like, it can be whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be what this partner thinks it is, what society thinks it is. Like, that's what's so fantastic and so frightening about non-monogamy.
Well, it's very frightening because that means that you have to look at everything. And you have so many options to choose from.
And you've got to do so much like self-work.
Yeah. Like really, when people are like, "Oh, you're non-monogamous, you must be like fucking all the time and having sex with all these people."
No.
I'm like, nah, it's just usually like a lot of personal therapy and talking.
There's a lot of emotional.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's hard as fuck. Yeah, I think, and I same with you maybe, like I might present in a way where I'm having all types of crazy sex. And there are moments, I guess, of that, but by and large, it's like I have a pretty mundane sex life. I do. And it's just it's not so far removed from what you are doing in your monogamous thing. Yeah. It's not. Yeah. It's just with more people.
It's just with different people.
Yeah. And sometimes not more people.
Yeah.
Like, it goes in waves of, sometimes it is just the two of you. Sometimes it's one person for a long time. Like, it's mutable and changing all the time. It's not like always I have a ton of partners always.
Yeah.
That is so not true.
Which is funny because mine has actually really like leveled out.
Yeah.
So I've been married for, I don't know, a long time. I've been with my husband for like 18 years, I think.
Oh, wow.
No, that's a lie. What year is it? It's 2018.
Since 2000?
Since 2001.
There you go.
Yeah,
17.
whatever that is.
So math. That sounds a lot like math.
Yeah, it sounds like too much math. So he and I have been together for that long. And
Wow.
then I've had a boyfriend now for like 3.5 years.
Yeah.
And it used to be that I was very much in that phase of like, oh, this week I have 5 dates with 5 different people. And now I'm seeing somebody for 2 years. And now I'm seeing somebody for 1 year. And now I'm not seeing anybody. And now it's just like, I have become monogamously non-monogamous with my 2 partners, and it's
like a poly-fi.
It's almost like everything I ever wanted but didn't want at the same time because it
but flipped on its head.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so getting used to it is interesting, but I mean, I like having this domestic life. And I like that I got to go through all of those waves, and maybe those waves will come back again.
Who knows? But
it's nice to be where I'm at now.
Yeah. And who's to say that all that, didn't play a part in you getting where you are?
Yeah, exactly.
And settling into finding, and most likely did. Like for my part, my main nesting partner and I, for sure, we went through a lot of exploring everything to really find out. I feel like, same as you're saying, we're finally settling into
each other.
Really, and our other partners, and like, okay, really settling into what we really want out of this whole poly thing.
Yeah, and I think that's
sure.
probably